of Arran, off Scotland's west coast, is known as Scotland in miniature because it has everything that makes Scotland Scottish. It's got mountains, glens, beautiful coastline, forests, castles, ancient stone circles, waterfalls, golf courses, sheep and seals. In short, it's got a bit for everyone. And on top of that, it's so small you can circumnavigate it by bike in one day, provided you're fit. Hi, my name is Martien and I'm going to show you a bit of Arran today. To get to Arran from the mainland, you need to take a ferry from Ardrossan, which will drop you off at Brodick, the capital of the island. Brodick is a welcoming town with some lovely guest houses, nice pubs and an excellent bistro, the Douglas. There's a castle just outside Brodick if you want to see something fancy. And there's this too. Brodick is a great base from which to explore the rest of the island. You can hire bikes here, and the petrol station near the ferry terminal has a small number of hire cars. This is actually a cheaper option than hiring a car on the mainland and taking it on the ferry. Supply is limited though, so do be sure to arrange a car beforehand. But if you don't wish to drive, you can get around by bus or walk. The round the island walking trail known as the Arran Coastal Way starts from Brodick. Depending on how many miles you wish to walk each day, it takes 5 to 8 days to circumnavigate the island, and from what I've heard, it's a superb walk. Its highlights include things such as spectacular rocky outcrops, basalt columns and a big cave on the beach, all of which I missed out on because of bad weather. And of course Arran's many gorgeous seascapes. What is amazing is how different the beaches of Arran look from one place to the next. Most beaches are very rocky, while others are full of pebbles. Some beaches have mossy rocks, some have rocks with lines in them, and others again are full of seaweed and algae. And yet others have massive boulders on them. You get to see all these beaches, as well as a few even more spectacular ones, when you walk the Arran Coastal Way, which I really hope to do someday. Another famous walk I planned to do when I visited Arran was the ascent of Goatfell, aka Goat Mountain, which rises 870 meters above sea level and can be seen from quite a distance. There are several ways to climb the mountain. The most popular trail to the summit starts from the Cladach Car Park, and apparently the walk is not too strenuous. I was going to climb Goatfell myself, but on the weekend I'd set aside for my ascent, the weather was quite poor, and the local tourist office recommended steering clear of the mountain. For what it's worth, several people at my guest house did climb Goatfell that day and said it was perfectly fine, so maybe take what the tourist office says with a little grain of salt. Anyhow, even though I didn't make it to the summit of Goatfell, I did do some wonderful short walks. My favourite walk was in Glen Sannox, a valley forged by a glacier 8,000 years ago. As you can see, it's quite picturesque. I also did some walking in Glen Rosa with its steep slopes, mostly to take pictures of the very photogenic trees there. And I did a fair bit of walking in Glen Ashdale Forest in the southeast of the island. There's a beautiful trail here that leads to a waterfall and beyond. It's a bit steep in parts, but it's wonderfully scenic, even in inclement weather. The waterfall is pretty impressive, especially after a bit of rain. If you enjoy a good forest walk, I highly recommend Glen Ashdale Forest. That said though, Arran isn't all about walking. Most people actually come here to cycle. There's a road around the island that is very popular with cyclists. You can complete the full circle in one day, if you're fit, and if it's not too windy. There are some very scenic roads crisscrossing the island as well. Be aware that some of them are quite hilly, particularly in the north of the island. I saw more than a few cyclists struggle on those roads, so don't underestimate the level of fitness required to cycle here. If you play golf, you'll like Arran as well. There are no fewer than 7 golf courses on the island, and some of them are quite scenic. And if outdoor activities aren't your cup of tea, or if you need a bit of a break from all that exercise, there's a whisky distillery on the island as well, where you can take a tour. And there are plenty of traditional cheese farms and local specialty shops too. And then there are all the old things. The village of Logranza, on the northern tip of the island, is home to a rather scenic ruined castle on the water's edge. The castle originally dates from the 13th century, but most of the present remains are from the 16th century. The castle has been abandoned since the 18th century. Even older than Logranza Castle are the Neolithic remains that can be found all over the island. The most famous of these are the standing stones of Maghrimo, situated on a working sheep farm near Magri. Actually, there are several Neolithic stone circles here, and the further you get from the road, the taller the stones get. The 3 big stones you'll see in the postcards are a fair walk from the car park, but if you're lucky enough to arrive here at sheep feeding time, the farm's owner may give you a lift in her jeep. She gave me a lift, which I hugely appreciated. The walk back to the car park was scenic though. There are more ancient remains in other parts of the island. On a hill just outside Gleneshdale Forest, you'll find the Giants' Graves, which are the remains of 2 Neolithic chamber tombs. Clearly, many slabs have been stolen from them, so not much remains of the tombs today, but you can still see that it must have been quite large back in the day. The walk to the Giants' Graves takes about 15 minutes from the main Gleneshdale Forest track and is reasonably steep, but you do get some nice views of the scenery below. Sites like this, with ancient slabs of rock forming structures, are dotted all over the island. For instance, there's another one, a bit smaller, at Torlin Cairns. And of course there are plenty of small rocks too, which can be fun if you're a photographer who likes lines and patterns. I had a lot of fun photographing rocks and pebbles on Arran's many beaches. And I also found the time to do some sunrise shoots. If you're getting up early for those sunrise shots on the east coast of the island, be sure to check out the seals at Corrie while you're at it. Early morning is a good time to spot them, albeit not necessarily the best time to photograph them. And if you want to see some more wildlife, consider doing a boat trip to one of the 3 tiny islands just off Arran: Holy Island, Plada and Ilsa Craig. Apparently there are some good photo opportunities there too, and lots of birds. So if you're a keen bird watcher, those islands should be a great place to go. Anyhow, whatever you end up doing, you're bound to have a great time on Arran. Just make sure you bring waterproof clothing, because the weather is notoriously fickle in these parts, and showers are frequent. And perhaps you should bring some wellies too, you know, for the welly boat throwing competition. Not too bad. And on that note, it's time for my shirt review. I thoroughly enjoyed my stay at Arran and thought it was quite lovely. It's a photographer's paradise and outdoor enthusiasts will find much to love here. I may be back someday myself to walk the coastal route. Here's hoping. And that's all for me today. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it somewhat useful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing. At any rate, thank you very much for watching, and see you on the road.